Happy Friday, everyone, and thanks for listening and keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we're going to get to prediction time, see if we can earn some money here, talk about what a win would possibly mean for Arizona football, and we're going to talk some Arizona basketball perimeter as well. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, it is Friday. That means game day is here. That means that we are going to talk about how I see this game unfolding. And you know what? We'll get some predictions. And again, if you think I'm smart, then take that to the BetOnline Sportsbook and take my prediction. Or if you think I'm an idiot, say, you know what? I'm going to go against Mike because he's stupid. And I'm going to go to the BetOnline Sportsbook and make money off of his moronic nature. But either way. So here's what people need to remember again about this Arizona-Oregon. I don't want to say rivalry. That's too strong of a term. But there have been some very, very interesting games that have taken place over the years. First and foremost, you need to remember that Arizona generally plays Oregon tough. Even when Oregon's been highly rated and has come in here with a lot of really talented teams, Arizona has generally played them tough. And that's something that sometimes schools just have that. You know, Arizona-Cal is always going to be a close game. It's just kind of in the cards. It's just kind of the way it is. So you look right now, and right now Arizona is generally about a 12-point underdog, something like that. I like Arizona with the points right there. And here's a big part of it is I'm not huge on Oregon. I get that Oregon's good. I get that Oregon's got better players than Arizona. And keep in mind, yes, I get it. Most people against Georgia would have the same problems that Arizona has for sure. But here's kind of where I'm at right now when it comes to the University of Arizona and when it comes to Oregon. I think that Oregon is, again, you watched them against Georgia and they got blown out of the water for sure. But most people would get blown out of the water against Georgia. But it's more the manner in which they couldn't even really put up a fight. They couldn't even really put up a fight. And on top of that, I think that this is a team that is also somewhat limited. I get the Bo Nix has put up good numbers this year. Like I said, I watched Bo Nix a lot throughout college or throughout his time at Auburn, and I was never really that impressed by him. It didn't really do a ton for me. I think that the running back, I think Bucky Irving is fantastic. Big fan of him. I expect him to be able to get some numbers. Troy Franklin, Chase Cota, we talked about it, but I'm not overwhelmed by their team, and I think that it's kind of the Oregon aura a little bit that has them rated so high. Again, I watched them against Washington State, and if Washington State wasn't doing dumb things throughout the end of that game, I think that Washington State could have won that game. When Cameron Ward throws a pick six in the way he does, that's a problem. But now let's talk about Arizona, though. Let's talk about what they need to do. And first, this has to be a big game for Jayden de Laura. Jayden de Laura has to come out there, and he's got to perform. And we've seen if Jayden de Laura plays well, he can pretty much keep you in about any game out there. He's got the receivers. He's got the wherewithal to be able to make those kind of plays. That's where it's impressive for him, at least in my opinion. Now, this is also going to be a big game. T-Mac, ex-Oregon commit right there, big-time recruit. There was a reason that he was made available for Media Day. Don't think that I'm breaking any news there. Jacob Cowing as well, another player that needs to have a very big game for the University of Arizona. And if he doesn't, then that's going to be an issue for them, and it's going to be something where they're going to struggle a little bit. Where I do think that Arizona needs to try to do, and it's something that, big fan of Jedd Fisch on this show, obviously, but one thing that I think that he has done from time to time is get away a little bit from the running game. I think you got to try to stick with the running game here. Again, maybe it doesn't work. I get that. But if it doesn't work, then you know what? Then you go it. But it can't be something where you try it for one series and then you go. I also think that this is going to be Michael Wiley, DJ Williams. This is going to be the kind of game where they're going to need to play some really good football here. Because if Arizona can run the ball a little bit, if their offensive line can sustain some things, Arizona's chances of winning goes up and goes up in a big way. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on right there. Now, when it comes to the Arizona defense, I'm not going to lie, this is going to be a tough game for the Arizona defense because while I do realize that I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth right now, Oregon can score some points for sure, and Arizona's defense has struggled pretty much all season. So that's I get what I'm saying there, but it is what it is. Now, what would a win mean for Arizona? First of all, a win for Arizona would be the biggest win for the program in quite a while. And honestly, I can't even remember the last time that Arizona would have had a win like that. You probably having to go back 10 years. But it also, not that he needs any legitimacy in what he's doing, because you can just tell by recruiting, you can tell by what he's already done. But it would really, really help Jedd Fisch, though, out on the recruiting trail. Hey, we just beat a top 20 team. We're already at 4 wins this year on the season. We had 1 last year. Now we're at 4. We're going to keep pushing. It also puts you in that 7 to 8 win realm, which makes things a lot easier. If you're in that 7 to 8 win realm, then by year 3, yes, you worry about, okay, well, is Jedd Fisch going to still be here? But I've never really subscribed to that theory because I don't worry about that. If a team comes looking for or a team comes looking for your coach, a better school, because he's the job he's done, then I can deal with that because that means that you also left Arizona in a much better footing than you inherited. So I'll deal with that issue every single day of the week. But as far as a prediction goes, I'm going to go Oregon 41, Arizona 34. I think Arizona absolutely has a chance in this game. Again, Oregon does not overwhelm me by any means. Yes, they're good, but I think Arizona absolutely has a chance in this game. And we'll see how this all unfolds. But if we're sitting here Monday and we're talking about an Arizona win, it would not shock me in the least. I do think I would be a little surprised if Oregon ran away with this game. But a lot of people do think that's going to happen. We'll see. But I'm back in the A on this one, at least back in the A to cover. But like I said, if Arizona were to win, wouldn't surprise me in the least. Defensively, though, they're going to have to come up with some stops. They're going to have to come up with something, or they're going to have to come up with a few plays where, a Hunter Eccles, a dive off the edge or a sack off the edge, or, something like that. So we'll find out right now where exactly they are. But I do like where Arizona stands right now. Now, going forward then, the rest of the schedule, then it becomes a little bit easier. You're playing with a little bit more house money right there. Because if you win that game, then you start looking, you're like, okay, then the bowl game becomes more of a possibility as well. Bowl game becomes more of a possibility as well. And a bowl game in a second year under Jedd Fisch, you might as
You are locked.
a bowl game. My bad. A bowl game under Jedd Fisch, you might as well give him the coach of the year in the conference right now. And you start looking at being a possible national coach of the year, because there would be that type of impact right there. But again, I'm going to Arizona 41-34, Oregon 41-34, but I look for a spirited performance back in the A to cover. Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit of football here, or basketball as well, because as we all know, Tommy Lloyd is the face of Arizona basketball now. We just had the red-blue game. In the previous episode, we broke down what to expect from some of the big men. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the perimeter guys, the guys that'll be starting first. Kirk Risa, you're going to keep hearing this time and time and time again, that Kirk Risa just needs to continue to do. He needs to be able to lead the team. He needs to be able to lead them in a right way. And he needs to be able to up his shooting percentages. And if he can do that, then that will be fantastic for them. But if he doesn't, then there's a little, there's a little bit of more of an issue, I think, in play right there. But he's got to be able to do that. If he can do that, then you're looking at a team that might have a little bit of a higher ceiling than I think other people probably thought. Now, when it comes to that shooting guard position, Courtney Ramey, you need Courtney Ramey to basically be a 13, 14 point per game guy. You could tell Tommy Lloyd was asked about him in the post red blue presser, and he said that he's not really worried about what Courtney Ramey can do. He knows what he can do. Went 0 for 6, but you could tell, and Tommy Lloyd's always kind of had this style about him where it's just kind of like, trust me, he'll be good. And as we've talked about before, when Tommy Lloyd says trust him, trust him. He's shown this many, many times already over the years. There's no reason to doubt what he's saying, quite frankly, because he's shown that he knows what he's talking about. Last year, Arizona goes into the year without any top 25 expectations, and Tommy Lloyd was asked, and he said that I like him a lot, but and I know what good teams look like, but at the end of the day, these are players that this is what a good team looks like. And Lloyd said that before, and I think Lloyd's going to continue to say that. I think he's going to stick by that. Now, one of the players too that Tommy Lloyd is obviously a huge fan of is Pella Larson. Pella Larson was Pella Larson was, I was wrong on Pella. When he came in, I was like, man, this guy stinks. And he struggled. Let's be honest with you. I mean, we can be honest here. He struggled in a big way. And that doesn't really take away from the fact, though, that that by the end of the year, he was the Pac-12 freshman of the year, or Pac-12 sixth man of the year. And I watch him and I just wonder how good he can be, because I've talked with people that are a lot smarter than me, and they all have said that he can play in the NBA. I don't necessarily see that, and but again, I've been wrong on this stuff before. But one thing I do like about him, though, is that his body, he's definitely leaned down his body, and he's leaned down his body in a big way. If he's a little bit more, if he's a little bit more fluid, I guess, with the ball, if he's able to make a few more plays off the bounce, things become a lot easier for him at that point. I don't know that he can do that, but I don't know that he can't do that. This is going to be a big year. I think that people will be able to have a real idea as to what he can do by that point. So, excuse me, we'll find out about that. But also, you've got some pretty intriguing options coming off the bench then as well. And, obviously, Cedric Henderson is a fascinating guy. His father played in the NBA, as we know. Cedric Jr. was at Campbell University. And like I said, don't let that name fool you. He is he's pretty much at the point right now where, how do I put this? You can pencil him in for about 18 to 20 minutes a game. He's wildly athletic. He's very skilled. Certainly a guy to keep a close eye on. All right, now we're going to take a quick break right here. But first, want to tell you again, as we've talked about before, about Underdog. Here's the deal. Underdog is the best place to go. You can sign up with a promo code locked on, one word, and Underdog will double your deposit up to $100. Deposit $100, get $100 free. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store, Google Play Store, CTA repeated. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code locked on, one word. Get in on the college sports pick'em action today. College football is here. There is no better place to be than Underdog. Check it out. We will be right back with you, and we're going to continue breaking down the rest of the Arizona basketball perimeter. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm Mike Luke. All right, we just talked about Cedric Henderson and what he could possibly provide on the perimeter. Now, let's talk about Adama Ball. Adama Ball is the ultimate wild card, in my opinion. Adama Ball is the player that he could be 11 points per game this year, or he could be 5 points per game. He could go on to that Michael Dickerson trajectory, or you know what? He could kind of be that slow burn. I don't know what to expect. But when you watch Tommy Lloyd, when he's talked about Adama Ball, you can tell that he has big, big expectations for the young man from France. He's talked about how he's the age of what a freshman should be. And you got to remember that. Last year, Adama Ball came in at 17 and a half years old. We're in the day now where parents are holding their kids back 2 years, which is super lame. I've never understood that, to play basketball. So you get kids that are coming in as 20-year-old freshmen. Adama Ball came in as a 17-year-old. That's obviously something that you don't see a ton of this day. And by the end of the year, Ball was a big part of what they wanted to do on the perimeter. You could tell that Adama Ball was not necessarily ready when he started, but Tommy Lloyd talked about at the end, he wanted to start getting him some meaningful minutes, and that maybe he slow played him a little too much. You saw in the Pac-12 tournament when Ball came in, he started getting some real opportunities, and he performed very well. He would make the open three, he would hit the setup. So we'll see where he is, but I think there's a lot to like there. There's a lot of potential. We've got a couple other guys to break down. We'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk about a couple of the other players here that could figure in. Filip Borovichinen, big fan of Philly B on this show. When Arizona first offered him, I think I was with a lot of people where it was kind of like, who? But you also have to remember, too, that when it comes to Borovichinen, yes, he didn't play against the greatest competition in in high school or, overseas. But Tommy Lloyd really likes him, and that's clear. And if Tommy Lloyd really likes you, that's a good thing. Because there's probably not a better international recruiter in the entire country than Tommy Lloyd. And there's a lot to like about Borovichinen's game. You look at him, he looks like he's a legit 6'8" or 6'9", somewhere in that realm. He can handle the ball. He can pull up. He can shoot. He can do all of that stuff. It'll just be interesting to see how ready he is. And on top of that, the players that are in front of him. Is he able to steal a few of their minutes? Is he able to hop in there and, maybe steal a couple minutes from a Pella Larson or a Courtney Ramey? Or heck, maybe even in the perimeter or on the inside with a little positional flexibility. I don't know the answer to that. We're going to find out. But there's a lot to like with this team. There's a lot of moving pieces. Again, I don't believe that it's a national title contender, but I do believe that this is a team that's going to be top 15 to 25 pretty much all season. And I think as long as Tommy Lloyd's coaching here, that's going to be the case because Tommy Lloyd clearly gets it. Okay, now we're going to be signing off here. But again, taking Arizona, I'm back in the A with the points right here. Always try to give it to you level, 41 to 34. Right now we're at 3-2 on the season for Arizona. If they can get to 4-2, then it really changes the trajectory. I think Arizona is going to hang with them, and I think they're going to give a good spirited performance of themselves. All right. As always, appreciate all of you. We will be back with you Monday. You've been listening to Locked On Wildcats.